Hi everyone, I'm Edyta Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts. Welcome to Quilting Window. I am so glad you took the time and wanted to quilt with me today. I have a special surprise for you. We're going to be working on one of the most beloved blocks in quilting, log cabin. Oh, it is so much fun to do it. I chose for you this little broken star log cabin quilt. Those blocks are 4.5-inch finish and the pattern is just wonderful. In the pattern, you have two sizes for the blocks. You can make the 4.5, but also as a bonus, we included 9-inch finish block. Oh, this is gonna be fun. In our sewing basket, we have the pattern. We also have a ruler. This one is 5.5 Creative Grits ruler. I love this little ruler. This one is gonna be perfect. We're gonna do a little bit of trimming. I have included a blue bundle called Winter Blues, and I have included a Winter Lights. Those are perfect bundles for a little quilt like this. Also, I have a Schmidt's Macrotex needle, 70, nice and thin, and our favorite 2310 Orville thread is gonna be wonderful. We're gonna keep the pattern nice and close to us because we need those directions how to cut our blocks. On my table, you probably noticed this brand new collection of fabric. This one calls Perfect Union, and it's our newest collection in blue and white. And the front cover quilt on the pattern is colored with those beautiful swatches from Perfect Union collection. So you have an idea how it looks. The quilt behind me, I just made it with any of our fabric. So guess what? If you have ever purchased blue sky, something blue, maybe Delfina collection, it will match perfectly with Perfect Union and you can make a cute little scrappy quilt. Or you can go ahead, we will have those fabrics on our website and you can enjoy those. All right, let's focus on our first block. This quilt behind me is made from 64 blocks. 32 of the blocks are half light and half dark. Light logs and dark blue logs with a cute little yellow center. I chose yellow for the center for the blue and white because I love how it just warms it up a little bit. And you know, long time ago, the yellow center meant candlelight in a window in an old log cabin home. So that yellow, it was perfect. And this yellow is from our olive branch collection. Then we have 16 blocks that are all light and 16 blocks that are all dark logs. We're gonna start with the 32 half light, half dark, and we're gonna move on then to making 16 and 16 from the leftovers. But if you learn how to make a one block, you can make a dozen. So let's work on our first block. When you open your pattern, you're gonna notice the directions right there. On the direction, it gives you what you need to cut. It is wonderful to have it right there on the picture. And we're gonna start by cutting a yellow center, then a white light square to match it, then a rectangle, another blue rectangle, another one, light blue blue, light blue blue, and you can cut all your pieces right up front. Well, I want to show you today how I make my log cabin. So I don't go ahead and cut everything up front. I like to cut a little bit at a time, and what I do is I cut and sew, because sometimes when I go ahead and cut everything up front, my back hurts, my arm hurts, and I get tired of cutting. So cutting a little bit and sewing and then switching back and forth gives me some fun things to do. So we're gonna start with yellow and light. We have cut those following the measurements in the pattern. And as I do that, I mark it off on my pattern that I have cut them and now I'm sewing them. I'm gonna put them right sides together just like this and sew it beautifully. As soon as I finish sewing it, I'm gonna go ahead and press my seam allowance towards the yellow. Then next, I need a light rectangle. I cut it following the measurements. I noticed that in my pattern, I need a rectangle in light and rectangle in blue that are exact the same measurements. So guess what? From now on my cutting board, I will have my strips in light and blue right next to each other. Then I'm gonna go ahead, take my rotary, take my little ruler. I'm gonna start, let me move this little bit more in. I'm gonna start by trimming the edge right there, trimming the edge. Perfect. And now I'm gonna keep my ruler right on it so nothing disturb those pieces as I'm turning my board around. Okay, and I'm gonna look at it. Okay, on my measurements it says I need 1.5, so I'm gonna put my ruler, slide it down, measure 1.5, and then I'm gonna cut it. But notice I cut both light and a blue, because after I finish my lights I'm gonna need the blues, so why not right away cut the same measurements. Then I'm gonna go ahead, take my ruler and place it over my strip, grab just the fabric that I needed next to me, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave this laying down. And in my household, when I leave my ruler like this, everybody knows not to move this because I'm in the middle of cutting. So now I'm gonna go ahead and grab this rectangle, put it right over and sew it. I'm gonna use chain sewing, so I'm gonna be making more than just one. I like to make 8 or 16 blocks at a time. Why 8 or 16? Because I need 16 lights, 16 all darks, 32. Half of 32 is 16. So if you have time to make 16, that's the number. But if you don't, you could make 8, 8, 8, 8. And 4 times 8 is 32. So you can break it down to a little bit, and I love making the 8s because quickly I have a nice results and I finish 8 blocks. On average, I can do 8 blocks in the morning or in the evening as I sit down. The chain sewing is so good and it goes so fast. So zoom, zoom, zoom. I will sew this right down and then go ahead, open it up, press it, and I'm gonna press it towards the light. So notice it, I'm gonna press it towards the light right here. See, just like this. Also, you can consider you pressing towards the outside of the block. And notice I just sewed this, so this one was my rectangle right here. Now my next is this rectangle, so I would have grabbed it, place it right over, center it up, sew it, flip it open, and keep going like this till I finish all of those. As soon as I finish, look at this, I push it, press it. I need my strip for here. I'm gonna need my dark strip, so I go ahead, check my measurements. The next measurement is 2 inches, so I'm gonna go ahead, make a cut, and notice dark and light, because I know as soon as I finish my blue, I'm gonna need my light to go all the way around the block. So I would go ahead, place this right oven, sew it down, and I am ready for the next step. So right there, I just finish, and I would have wanted next, go ahead and right away sew it, but stop for a moment. As soon as you go one round, so what I call it is a yellow center, and all the rectangles are all the way around it, that's the time that I take that cute little ruler, place it right over, and now it's time to trim. And I want to show you this. As I'm trimming, I'm paying attention that right this line is going through those points, and I know that this size needs to be 2 by 2 because my next strip is 2 inch. So this is where I'm gonna go ahead and trim it. Trim and trim. Perfect. Let's move this to the side. And this turning glue board is perfect for this. I go ahead, let me move those little trims that I just got. Now go ahead, now I can match it perfectly to this edge. Two, super. Make sure that those points are crossing right here, and trim and trim. How wonderful. Oh, look at this. What a perfect little square. Perfectly trimmed to 2 by 2. And I have now next rectangle. Then I'm gonna go ahead, place it right sides together just like this and sew it. And you know, I like to make sure that I place those pieces on that right side because it's easy to flip it and put it someplace where you're not supposed to. So my technique, the way how I remember, I look at if there are 2 seams, I cover those 2 seams. I cover them. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Repeat it 8 times because we're going to be making 8 blocks or 16 blocks. Like I said, the 8 is my favorite because it's a nice goal for the day. I know I can achieve it. I sew it, and as soon as I finish sewing, I'm going to turn this board around so my fabrics are on the top. Look at this. As soon as I finish sewing, I push that seam allowance towards the outside, and now it's time for another light rectangle right here. And this time again, follow the direction, check the measurements, cut the right pieces, and you're gonna put a light, sew it, flip it open. Wonderful. I just finished. Sew it, flip it open. Now it's a time for a dark one. I go ahead, place it, sew it, flip it open. Keep going this way, and as soon as you finish second round, what are you going to do? You're gonna stop for a moment. You're gonna reward yourself with a wonderful cup of tea or coffee or maybe a little cookie with it, and you're gonna grab your ruler. You're gonna place it right over. You're gonna make sure that this line right here, that 45-degree line, is going right through it, that your center is exactly in the middle, and you're gonna trim it beautifully. And then you're gonna turn the board, trim it again, and you have a beautiful, beautiful piece. And now time to put the remaining logs. So flip it up, and so flip it up, and keep going like this. This is round number 3. Notice it again. Time for trimming, and in no time you're gonna have a beautiful, beautiful blocks. Look at how cute those are. And the bigger the pieces are, you remember, pin it so that way the strips are not shifting as you're sewing. When they're smaller, it's easier to hold down to them and control them, but as they get bigger, you want it to pin it nicely, sew it, and as soon as you finish, you're gonna go ahead, grab your ruler and trim it to 5 by 5, 4.5 finish, so 5 inches by 5 inches unfinished. Oh, how wonderful. So remember, as soon as you finish 8, you're going to need to repeat 3 more times, because total you need 32 half light, half dark. So those 32, half in blue, half in light, and we're gonna place them on the quilt following the layout. Then we're gonna go ahead, make light blocks, and you're gonna just use your light fabrics all the way around. Just use your light fabrics. Those are the squares that are right here, and we're gonna do some that are just in blue right here. And once we have our blocks finished, we're gonna lay them into the rows just like this. Then sew our blocks into the rows, push the seam allowance in opposite direction, then sew rows together, pin here. Once rows sewn together, you have a beautiful quilt center, and you can add a tiny little border, quilt it, add a binding, and you have a beautiful, beautiful quilt. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, if you can make a small one and you can make those beautiful blocks, in the pattern you also have direction for a larger block, and that one is spectacular on your bed. It gives you a queen size bed, a quilt. So queen size quilt with a nice frame around it. So just the amount of blocks, the blocks are bigger, and the amount of blocks are exactly the same, just the blocks are bigger, so you can make a beautiful, beautiful quilt. Thank you so much for stopping by and visiting with me. Before you go, I wanted to share with you a scrappy version of this quilt. So we have the blue and white one, but look at this cutie pie right here. Those are just a Civil War reproduction, some batik, some scraps, anything that I had in my stash. I'm so thankful you took the time to visit with me and had fun making log cabin. I hope you make a lot of beautiful blocks. Happy quilting! Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website at laundrybasketquilts.com. And I cannot wait for you to get hold of this beautiful perfect union fabric so you can make an amazing blue and white quilt. Happy quilting! I see you next week.